Hello, and welcome to another Wednesday Walkie Talkie, where I go for a walk around here. Try not to kill myself on the terrain, and have a chat about stuff video game related while we get a bit of exercise. I have to say that cutting down to doing one of these a week is actually working. I've been able to go different places walking, so I've actually increased the distance with which I'm actually increasing the distance where I'm walking. Has sort of helped an enormous amount. I'm gonna go down here. I know I've been down here before, but I want to see if I can get to where I want to get to. Just down here. I'm not sure, but we'll give it a whirl. Now, it was quite icy the other day, but it's a bit milder now. So I'm hoping that's okay. Now, what's this? Flood basin in operation. Do not enter. Well, I'm assuming that's when the gate's shut, not when it's open. So, and it'll be a flood basin because of the River Mersey. It flows adjacent to where I'm walking. So, yeah. Last week I had to spend quite a bit of time cleaning my boots up when I got in, as you all saw. It had been raining and I was walking through all of that nonsense, that stuff, which wasn't fun in the slightest. But you can see like a bit of, well, actually I don't know if that is flooding or whether that's just marshland. They're on marshes around here. Some ducks. So yeah, topic of the conversation today is going to be, as we get older, or certainly as I've gotten older, I've noticed my gaming habits have changed from when I was younger. And I'm not just talking about from when I was a little kid. I'm talking about my gaming habits changing from when I was in my 30s. When I was back playing on the Xbox 360 and so on, and the PS3. From that era, how it's changed. It definitely has. My gaming habits have definitely changed an awful lot. So that weighs the stepping stones, and that's the woodland thing I went on last time, which we're not doing again, because we went up and round to the right, went over the bridge with the metal stuff on it. Let's have a look at this pond though for a second. We're not going all the way around because, yes, swan. There we go. We have a swan. Let's have a look. There you go. If you can, should be able to see that. Very gracefully, just chilling out until it comes on land, takes exception to you and chases you off down the pathway. So it's like, what should I do? It's undecided. I'll get out of its way. those things get psychotic when they get wound up. So, yeah. It's going back the other way now. I think you have to be careful with them things, as if they've got the signets following them around. You have to be careful, and that's when they get more aggressive, but that's just by itself, so it's probably not that bothered. Alright, where to go? Okay. Got that round here. Alright. Okay. So, let's pick up the pace a little bit. Get the blood flowing through the legs. So, yeah, as I've noticed as I've gotten older, I've not been able to sort of game on the more intense type of games. I'm going to go over there someday in the summer when the ground's a bit firmer, see what's going on over there. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, back then, I mean, I could go and play hours of Call of Duty and then pop some Battlefield Bad Company on and play that for a bit. You know, just the more intense, higher paced shooters, really. I was able to just play for hours and hours and hours. And as I've gotten older, I've just found that not possible. I have to mix it up a bit. I can still play them, but I do find that I end up mixing it up, playing some of the more sort of slow-paced stuff in between. Almost like a palate cleanser, I suppose you could call it, you know. It's like the gifts of old age, isn't it? But I found myself sort of playing a lot more slower pace, like not the Sims, but stuff like the truck simulator games. So yeah, I still play my Forzas and my F1 games. Still play and enjoy them, you know, my Gran Turismos. But I like to intercut that with Euro Truck and American Truck Simulator. You know, I do like dabbling a little bit in Minecraft. I like building stuff. I find that quite chill. It's just having that variety now, I think. Where in the past it was all like more intense action. I'm now looking at things to play more things that are a little bit more relaxing in between. It's like I need to, not so much physical, well I suppose it is in a way because, you know, my reaction times aren't what they used to be. That's for certain. And as you're playing more, you know, you do start to get a little bit more fatigued. So yeah, you know, you do sort of find myself needing that break, that refresher. You know, what I might do is like start out playing the intense games and then, you know, for like an hour or two at the end of it, playing something a bit more mellow to wind down with. But like the truck simulator games, they take up so much of your time. You know, like it can be a couple of hours just doing a couple of deliveries, especially if you've got the map packs. So you've got like large sections of Europe, and they're currently working their way slowly towards the east coast of the US with the DLC for that. But with American Truck Simulator, I was surprised the other day to see that it was actually 10 years old. And I was thinking, wow, like, I don't know whether they're quite halfway across the US, but it's like, you need to get your skates on if you're going to do the rest of it. But they recently came up with a UI upgrade, and that's not proved to be very, very popular with people, and I can understand why. They've simplified it. I guess their intent is to bring it to consoles, and they've changed the UI and simplified it. Well, they say simplified it, but they haven't. Because in the past, here's an example. On the right-hand side of the display, I could see how much fuel I had left. I could see, just get through this. Yeah, how much fuel. I could see how, dear God. Just get through that. Yeah, how much fuel I had. What my, oh, goodness. What my distance and time to the delivery destination was. The speed I'm currently doing, the speed limit, the truck damage, and what else did I have? Truck damage, and oh yeah, how much money I currently had, which was handy, because if you're on the road and you might be like, while I'm parked up having a rest, or you know, as you're going along, and because you hire other drivers, you're basically building a transport logistics business, so that if you've hired people, they're all earning money as well. And, you know, as they earn money, you can see quickly just how much money you've got, how much you're accumulating. And there have been a number of times where I've needed to do truck repairs or hire people, and, you know, you see it in real time. But what they've done now is, you know, I could just do that at a glance while I'm driving along. I didn't have to pause or, you know, or anything like that. Now you do. Now you have to press the F1 key. And it doesn't, and that's how you find out basically what the state your truck's in, how much money you've got. And basically they've taken the stuff that was on that heads-up display. They've done that, and now they've put it behind the key. That's not simplifying it, that's adding a step. So if you press the F1 key, it essentially pauses the game. Now, that might not sound like a big deal, but there are some people who it was marketed and sold as a truck simulator. And there's a lot of people have got like the proper racing rigs for it, you know, like multiple screens, and you know, they've got the wheel and the gear shift, pedals, all of that stuff. And they treat it as if they're driving a real truck. You know, they've invested into that because that's how the game was marketed. Now, obviously, you can play it with a controller, it can be simplified. But those people who have those rigs are rightfully really upset, because, you know, from their perspective, right now, they're looking at that and going, well, hang on a minute, that's all been taken. Now we have to press a key on a keyboard, which pauses the game, you know, which you can't do in reality. You know, in reality, you would have to pull over to do that. Otherwise, you're going to end up crashing. You know, you can't just pause and suspend reality. So, you know, if they're playing it to the level of realism that the game says that you can, they're having to fundamentally change that, the way that they play it. So I can understand why they've gotten upset. Anyway, that's Adie's tangent. Back to the subject. So yeah, I do find that, going out there and playing the slower paced games is becoming quite enjoyable. Let's have a look down here. Through the reeds. Whoa. Let's see if there's anything in the reeds here. I don't think so. But yeah. Nice. But I think it's a good thing that you have the options to do that now in gaming. Back in the day when I was a kid, games were just generally more fast-paced, more intense. You had your shooters, your platform games, they were all pretty intense, all required quite a considerable amount of concentration. I don't see any geese today. I guess we just get the swan, unless they're further around. But yeah, it was always more intense. Now, I'm talking about the early to mid 80s. I'm not talking about, as time went on and consoles did start to get some strategy games. I'm talking about, like computer games, basically. Fast-paced scrolling shooters, when you get to the boss battles and you have to learn the pattern and what have you. So, yeah, it's nice now that there is a bigger variety. And it's funny, it's probably because those games have grown old. And the game development has as well. That's become a thing. Oh. So it is pretty cool how there is a lot more variety now, because I probably wouldn't be able to play as much as I do if that was the case. But yeah, I do enjoy it. I think the real-time strategy games as well, when they come along, they helped an awful lot too. But again, that was kind of like with the Amiga generation of stuff. Prior to that, a lot of it was just arcade-style games and not a whole lot else for quite some time. Saturday. There were other types of games, but they just weren't that popular, and they were not really what a lot of people were going for. They were few and far between. I think the most chill game I had on the Commodore 64 was probably World Class Leaderboard, a golf game. That sort of sticks out. Other stuff, as I say, did tend to be focus more around that more intense action. But again, I mean, back then, everything was new. So it was always going to take time for things to come through, for people to come up with the ideas and develop the games. It's easy to forget that, back then, there wasn't as much stuff. There wasn't as many game studios. And they didn't have as many people working for them. So that kind of stuff was difficult to develop. And of course, then you had the limitations of the hardware. Even a game that's got relatively simplified graphics still needs a lot of memory to deliver the deeper experience. And those old computers didn't really have that. So, but there were some. But by and large, the gaming scene back in the 80s was dominated by platformers and shooters. And they were pretty intense. So like I say, those people now, that grew up in that generation, game devs and what have you, probably, that became game developers, now they're making games for people of an older generation. They're thinking, Twitch shooting isn't really going to be a thing that too many older people will be into. There we go. Probably won't get this on the camera, but this is this horrible, muddy climb. Yeah. So, like I say, they were great fun back then, and I still enjoy revisiting them now, but dear God, I'm rubbish at some of those old games and old platformers. My reaction times just aren't there, but I still do enjoy playing them. I'm absolutely rubbish compared to what I used to be. I was playing, when you're playing Sonic the Hedgehog and you just, in the past you could go full pelt, jump over things, time it just right to hit them. And now you're just oh hell. Yeah, they're missing by a mile. And you just go charging straight into them. It's awful. No, it's not. It's great. It's still great fun. It's still great fun. But yeah. Gaming as you're getting older. I wonder, any of you out there, let me know if you've changed, or what. I mean, you might be younger than me, so therefore you're still in that period of still having the reflexes to play. I mean, especially online. I got Battlefield 6 yesterday. Because I actually discovered, and Microsoft are weirdos for this. I got it on the Xbox One. No, I didn't. I got it on the Xbox Series X. Because that's their latest console. Battlefield 6 is not on the Xbox One. Anyhow, yeah. I got it on the Series X just because it's getting neglected. But what I found out was that you can actually go and buy Game Pass Core. I think they've rebranded it Essential for the year for £50. Now, if you go onto the store, Microsoft Store, they don't offer that option. They don't have that option. Well, they do it. And you're just like, what are you doing, Microsoft? Like, why would you remove that? Well, why would you not show it? I think they only go up to like, it's either 3 months or 6 months. And it's £6 or £7 a month. Doing it that way. Well, if you work it out, let's just take it at £7 a month. Well, over 12 months, that's £84. And that's what was putting me off. I'm not paying 85 quid to play online on a system, on a console whose Microsoft as a publisher release games on the PC, and you don't have to pay to play online. So that's what put me off. So I'm not paying that. I pay like 50 quid, 60 quid for the PlayStation Network, and I think for the Nintendo one, which gives you all the extra stuff, you know, the ability to sort of play N64 and GameCube games, I think that's about 50 quid a year. So it starts to stack up. And I was like, I'm not paying 84 quid a year. But I went into Tesco and they had them. And for 12 months, for Game Pass Essential, which gives you, you know, the benefits of playing online. You don't get as much as you do with the Ultimate, obviously, which is a lot more expensive as well. But it was 50 quid for the year. And that's £34 cheaper than what they're selling it for on the store. If you factor in how much it would cost to buy it every 1, 3, or I don't think they go up to 6 months. It might do, I'm not sure. And I'm like, you know, why wouldn't you show that? Like, seriously, Microsoft, what are you doing? Why wouldn't you show that you have the option to buy it for 12 months, 50 quid, so you can play online? Now, yeah, I'll hold my hands up and say it's partly my fault. I should have done more research. But you would expect the people that make the console and the people that are selling it through their store on the said console to provide the comprehensive list of options. Wouldn't you? I would expect to have more limited options for my Xbox Game Pass subscription. I would expect more limited options going to Tesco. They're only going to sell the stuff that's the most popular. So evidently, because they had that, and they had quite a lot of those cards as well, so it's, you know, it's obviously a popular option. Why the bloody hell are Microsoft not showing that as an option when you go into the subscriptions section on the store? Now, look, I know they want people on Ultimate, I get that. But I pretty much relegated the Series X. I pretty much relegated that to not a console of choice. Even though the console itself, the hardware itself, is really good. But I just wasn't prepared to pay £80 odd a year just so I could play games online or have online functionality in games. So anyway, yeah, just a bit of a PSA there, you know. If you didn't know, I mean, my excuse is I was out of action in hospital for about 4 or 5 months overall, sort of on and off. So I kind of did lose a bit of touch. But yeah. Anyway, we'll call it there. We've covered everything that I wanted to. Yeah, not done bad. Pretty decent walk that. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Now I've got to think of something to talk about for the next one. So yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye.